Welcome back to the shop, everybody. This week's video takes place in 2026, week 20, May 11th through May 17th, and we are going to continue on the passenger header here. So just finishing welding everything out, smoke testing, and then kind of doing all the stuff that we did before moving into other more exciting things, I'd say, maybe. More exciting, in my opinion, at least. So yeah, let's just continue on welding. Not much to say about this because I've done this for, the last like 2 or 3 videos. All right, while that header is kind of cooling down and doing its thing, there's a ton of other work to do on the car. So one of those other things is I need to figure out some placement for some electrical connectors. So I have another large through panel connector that's going to be running all of my big wires for my coils, my injectors, my water pump, my AC. So I need to figure out where that goes, and so the easiest and best way to do that is kind of put the intake back in place, loosely throw the valve covers on. Obviously these aren't going to be mounted, but I got to clean off the valve covers and then just throw them loosely on the engine. And the reason for that is I need to be able to, connect and disconnect this electrical connector while the engine's together. So another part of that is I have coils going on top of the valve covers. So I used to have the coils mounted down low on the frame rail, and we're going to change that. So I need to get the coils off of the old mounts, and at some point in time, I think I red Loctited these screws instead of blue Loctiting them. So they are extremely difficult. So I gotta get some heat out, get some heat just on the fasteners, just a little tiny bit so that I can loosen them off. And I also need to hold the fastener. So I eventually grab a pair of pliers and kind of put some tape on them just to not completely destroy the coil mounts in case I ever want to use them or sell them or anything like that. And then once I get these coils off of the old mounts, what I will do is I will install them on just one of the brand new valve cover mount brackets. And the reason why I'm moving them up to the valve covers is I'll be able to do shorter plug wires and get them off of the frame rails, because a lot of water gets in that area in the frame rail. And I don't like the idea of them being just covered in water all the time. Well, not all the time, but if I'm driving it in the rain or anything, and also having dirt and rocks and stuff thrown at them. They're smart coils, they're not cheap, so I'd just rather get them onto the valve cover. And also, once I redo all of the wiring in the engine bay, I think it'll just look way better to have them on the valve cover than on the frame rail with super long plug wires. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get these mounted onto the new brackets. So yeah, these brackets, I think they are just super nice. I lucked out, and where I put like the fill cap and the breather, it's clear. So another thing I need to keep in mind with both the coils and the valve covers and everything else is where my clutch master cylinder sits. So this is kind of a big deal. I need to be very confident in making sure that coils are going on the valve covers, because I still have the option that I don't need to. Technically, I could still keep them on the frame rail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the clutch master cylinder reinstalled. This is going to take a little bit of work, but we're going to get it in. So here, right on the top of the shock tower, is the connector that I need to fit into that area under the other connector and around the coils and around the clutch master. So there's going to be a ton of stuff in that area. And those are fairly large connectors. I'm not going super duper expensive on this build. I'm just doing, you know, the more economical bulkhead connectors, which means they're just larger. Yeah, so luckily the dash isn't in because we got to get under there and, you know, dick around, and it's just a lot harder when the dash is in, the seats are in, and everything else. Not to say I haven't gotten under there when the seats are in and the dash is in. It's just, it's a lot more work. So I'm glad that it's kind of open right now. So we're at the point where we're going to try and get the mounting block mounted to the two pieces, so it bolts from the front through into the back piece. So at the very top left there, I just have a 1/4-inch bolt going from the back to the front, and it's just loosely holding everything together while I get the actual bolts in. It's the way I can do it when I'm just on my own. Just got to kind of make things work. So yeah, I'm just gonna pull out my instructions because I need to make sure I'm setting everything up right and things like that. And what I'm doing now is I'm taping off the exhaust ports. I know that I'm going to be doing some drilling and some stuff like that in the engine bay, so I don't want any of that going into the engine, not even in the exhaust ports. So just quickly tape those up. And then I'm going to continue working on the clutch. So yeah, after that, the clutch master goes in, it screws into the piece that's on the pedal, and yeah, we'll just put it all together. So that piece that I just put on the cowl, it's a 3D printed piece of the correct spacing that I'm supposed to be using for the setup. In the instructions, they say I think it's 1.4 inches is what the space between that back block and the master is supposed to be. So I 3D printed a spacer so I can get it, you know, the space dialed in perfectly. And then once I get this all set up and I take the spacer out, I noticed that the clutch master isn't fully returning into the block, which is a problem. Without it going fully back in, if I bolt it in, what's going to happen is it's going to be like constantly pressed a little bit. So you can kind of see there's just like a 1/4 inch of play. And yeah, so if I were to force that in, that means that the pedal has always got some preload on the clutch. And that'd be like a 1/4 inch of preload, which is not supposed to happen. That didn't happen before. But I have, of course, modified my firewall. And I'm pretty sure when I did the modifications on the firewall, it probably moved back a little bit. So I'm just going over the instructions because I'm like, I don't think it was like that before. And I don't know why I second guess myself, because I know for a fact it was not like that before. Period. End of story. It was not preloaded like that. So for the moment, I'm just going to put it back together because that's not really what I'm working on. And I can figure that out later. So I'll just put it back together. I'll put it back in a little bit of with a little preload, and yeah, I'll get back to that after, because I'm just kind of like, whatever, I'll deal with this later. Yep, so for me right now, the goal is the electrical connectors, so I'm just going to tighten that up. I know it's got preload on it. I know it's not right. I'll fix that later. And in the meantime, I will get the coils back on, and then this will, put the actual wiring harness, reconnect it. And that'll at least give me a pretty good idea as to where I can put this other connector so that I can mark it and then drill it in. Or drill out the firewall and get it installed. Now that I know where it's going, with everything just pulled back off, what I'm going to do is tape up the valley and the top of this engine just really, really good. I do not want any metal shards getting into this engine. It's been a long time. It took me a while to build. It's not cheap parts. I don't want to blow this thing up. So I'm going to tape the bag that I have on really good, and then I'm going to put a second bag on top just in case. But before I do that, there are some areas in this block that I need to put some pipe plugs in. And if I don't do that, I'm just going to leak coolant everywhere. So while I've got easy access to everything, let's just throw these pipe plugs in real quick, and then I'll put more plastic over the engine just to keep it protected. So now that I know where the plate's going to go, I'm just going to get it going. I'm just going to mark out the holes. I will center punch them. I will drill them. And then I will get the middle hole going after that's done. I'm going to use riv nuts to hold this in. So instead of having a bolt on the back side, I will effectively rivet a bolt into the firewall. Just makes it a little bit easier, even though it does space it off the firewall a little bit more, and I will need to kind of silicone it on there just so that it's water sealed. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead, get this installed. 4 holes for the bolts and then 1 big hole saw for the middle. You know, this is all brand new paint, so yes, this is kind of nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I don't really care if my paint isn't perfect. Like, I just don't. I know it's going to get marked up. I already have some marks in the paint in some areas. You know, it's weird where I'm very particular with my things, but when it comes to the paint on this car, I do care, but I kind of don't care at the same time. Like, I'm not going to just willfully, you know, damage it. But drilling into it, the few scratches I have got, I was just like, whatever, it is what it is. I can touch it up later. So yeah, now that I've got the 4 mounting holes drilled, I'm putting some riv nuts in there so that I can put some 1032 bolts in there, because I don't want to have a nut on the backside that I got to hold while I tighten it. That's just meh. We'll just do riv nuts. It makes everything nice and easy. One of the downfalls of riv nuts is that it does actually create a little bit of a gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of gasket material or gasket maker. This is Right Stuff by Permatex. It's what I use to seal up my intake and stuff. So I'm going to put a little bit of that just on the top and the sides, because if any water does get on there, I want it to drop out the bottom. But yeah, put a little bit on the top, put a little bit on the sides before I remount it. That way it is watertight. If any water gets in there, it will not leak into the cab. That is the goal. And I will say I went through a bit of a monsoon during the BC Drag It Challenge. I think I got the video of that, and yeah, no water got into the cab, so I think I did an okay job there, and I also think I did a pretty okay job with the welding and sealing, because yeah, no water got into the cab, and I went through a lot of water. So we just marked out where we're going to put the main holes. Now I'm getting the right size hole saw. I do have a couple of kits, thankfully, and I was able to get the right size. It's a slight bit bigger, which is perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and drill it in. The engine is covered, so I'm not worried about getting any metal in there, because that would be a major concern. And with the investment I have in this engine, if I had any concern about any metal getting in there in the slightest, I would actually scrap my trip, and I would take the engine back down to nothing, re-clean it all, and put it all back together. That is how serious I am about keeping stuff out of it. Now that we've got the hole cut in, we can just go ahead and get this new connector mounted in. So I'm going to do the same thing, use a little bit of sealant just on the, I think just the top and the sides. Maybe I'll do the whole thing. It looks like I do the whole thing. But just doing the top and the sides would have been acceptable. But yeah, I guess I decided just go around the whole thing. It'll be solid. No water will get in behind it. And yeah, we're just going to get that tightened in there. Now that I have that connector in there, I have decided this clutch issue is bothering me enough. I want to fix it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a look at this. And what I end up finding out is when what I'm thinking is, this is my hypothesis, is when I redid the firewall, it probably recessed the clutch master back maybe 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, something like that, from its stock position. So what's happening is the clutch pedal inside the car is hitting its stop, but because the firewall is pushed back and everything else, that means that the whole pedal box is kind of, the alignment has changed a little bit. So the pedal itself is hitting its stop, and that's causing it to, when I look at it physically, the pedal is a little bit depressed, and it's not returning all the way like it used to before. So I believe that what I'm going to have to do here is pull the pedal box out. I can adjust the stop for the clutch pedal a little bit, and if I can make it so that the clutch pedal releases a little bit more, it'll give me just enough to get that clutch master all the way to the firewall. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to disconnect all of that. I'm going to drop the steering column. I'm going to pull the pedal box out of the car. I'm going to modify the pedal box. and we are going to put the pedal box back in the car and hope that fixes it. Forgot. At first I thought that I just needed to modify this bit of the clutch a little bit just to give a little bit more clearance, but that really didn't actually fix it. I do have to drop the pedal box out and modify the pedal stop. Fortunately, with the dash out and the seats out, dropping the pedal box is actually really, really quick. It's, you know, a few bolts for the clutch linkage, 4 bolts for the pedal box itself. And yeah, I am just modifying the stock stop location. It's just a little piece of metal that the clutch rides up against. There was probably a 1/2 inch there before, so I shaved off like 1/4 of an inch, smoothed it all out. And yeah, that actually seemed to work perfectly. It did exactly what I needed it to do. So yeah, all things considered, just jump in the car, give it a quick little test feel, and yeah, it feels great. So I'm super happy with that. Now that that's reinstalled, it's time to do a little bit of cleanup in the car because it's filthy, it's a mess, it's kind of bothering me. So the next thing that we need to do is pull the heater box out. Now the reason why I'm pulling the heater box out is because I need some more electrical bulkheads through the firewall. And the controller for the heater box is directly in the way of where I want to put those electrical connectors. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the heater box out. And then I am going to cut in the EGT Pro bulkheads. So sitting kind of on the floor of the car, you can kind of see it in the shot. There's yellow connectors right on the trans tunnel just over my left shoulder. And there's 8 of those. So I'm going to have an EGT probe per header. So that way I'm going to be able to read the exhaust temperature of each header, or of each individual cylinder as it's firing. Now, this gives you some good information if you have a coil going bad, a plug going bad, a loose wire, a dead hole. You can look at your EGTs and very quickly see, oh, cylinder number 7 is dead. So we need to look at that and figure out why it's not firing. Is it an injector? Is it, the plug, the wire, the coil, any number of things. So it's just really good for troubleshooting and for making sure that, the engine is running correctly. And so I got these billet pieces from, I think it was Billet Pro Shop. So these, I'm just going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to mark off the corners, mark where I need to cut. So I'll put, I don't know if I put any tape down, but I will drill some holes. I'll use saws, I'll use a variety of tools, and I'll cut these in. Yeah, it's a really nice thing to have. I do also seal these just like I did the other ones. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. Is I have 2 of these little bulkheads. The first one is for cylinders 1 to 4, and then the second is for cylinders 5 to 8. So I think I cut them in so that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the bottom. Yeah, we're just gonna cut these in. It's funny now that I'm thinking back on this. I probably, instead of stacking these one on top of the other and having them like you read a book, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 on the next line, I probably could have mounted these vertical to match the actual cylinder positions. So I would have had, it would have gone 4, 3, 2, 1 on the left one, and then 8, 7, 6, 5 on the right one, and had these vertically side by side. I never even thought about that until just now. Some like, what are we, like 6 weeks later, 7 weeks later, something like that. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep on working on this. So what I'm doing here is I taped the two connectors to the two bulkheads to the firewall, just right in the middle. And now what I'm doing is I'm using a little piece of tape to hold the 4 mounting screws in, so that way I can come around to the inside of the car and just get the nuts started. So I mean, it's just a nice, easy way for me to do this on my own. I don't need any help. I can just hold it there with tape, start the nut, and then I can work on installing it from there. So the way I work on installing it is on the outside of the car, I kind of prop the Allen key at just the right angle, and then I eventually actually use a little bit of tape just to hold it in place while I'm tightening everything down. It would be easier with somebody else, but I don't know, I just didn't have anybody else, didn't feel like bothering my wife, so I just struggle through it and do it myself. All right, it is now time to modify this heater plate. So I just wanted to quickly kind of throw it roughly up into place just to see, oh, maybe I don't need to modify the plate, but yeah, I do. The where the controller is, it is entirely over top of the UGT bulkheads and where the wire's all gonna go. So I'm just gonna tape off all the holes because I know I'm gonna be making a massive mess. What I'm gonna end up doing here is I'm going to pull the controller off. I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to remove some excess material that's not needed. And we're going to make it so I can actually put this back in the car. So you're going to see, I'm going to draw some lines, and all of that is excess that I just don't need. So I'm going to cut it out and, you know, remove some weight and make this a little bit smaller, easier to put in. And now with the heater box in, I can get back into mounting all of these like probe receivers, I guess. I don't know what probe sockets. I don't know what the real term for them is. Yeah, I'll just cut the zip tie. We'll get them nice and loose. I didn't shorten any of these because I knew I was going to be short on time. So I just left all the length. It's not the end of the world. I can always go back in there and cut these all down. Yeah, so I'm just figuring them out, where they're going to go, how they push in there, and just kind of figuring this whole thing out as I go. now I need to remove those bulkheads again. The reason being, there's a couple of fasteners that go to hold all of those EGT probe receivers into the bulkhead, and that area is just too tight. I can't possibly get the fastener in there, so I'm gonna have to pull it out, pull the bulkheads through the firewall, put the fasteners in so that all the probe receivers or probe sockets are tight, and then bolt it all back up. Kind of sucks, but that's just life. On these bulkheads, if I recall correctly, there's a screw on, two screws, one on either side, and unfortunately I ended up mangling one of the screws and the holes and stripping it, and it was just not a good time. It's in there, it's not going anywhere for now, but I am gonna have to fix it in the future. So anyways, those small little threads, they're very, very finicky, so if you are going to do this, just be careful. I wasn't as careful as I should have been, and it didn't work out so well. Shouldn't say that it didn't work out so well, because it did work out. Everything's in there, it's just not perfect. Yeah, as I'm going through this is kind of why I am doing this time lapse the way I am. Everybody thinks, oh, cutting in a couple bulkheads and attaching the wires, it's only going to take you, 20 minutes, half an hour. The reality is I was probably closer to 2 hours to get all of this done, maybe even more. So it's just there's a lot that goes into building a car that you never see. So yeah, that's what I really love about this time lapse, is you get to see, I'd say 80% of what I've done to build the car. Well, if we count all the research I've done for parts and stuff, you've probably seen about 50%, but As far as actual work goes, I probably showed 80%. Yeah, so with tightening this last nut, UGT bulkheads are cut in, and I really like the way they look, but as I say now that I think back to this, I should have made those vertical and represent the actual cylinders in the car. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. I'll just know for next time if I ever do another set of EGT probes on a car, orient them like the cylinders. In this video, I am just kind of jumping around task to task to task because there's just so much to do. And one of those things is brake lines. So I previously had, NICOP nickel copper brake lines. And they're good because they're super easy to bend and, get them to where you're going. But I just wanted to feel a little bit more secure and have stainless brake lines. I think they're going to last a little bit longer, a little bit more durable. So I'm redoing all the front brake lines in stainless. The old brake lines also, I couldn't easily get them off the car. They were kind of weaved through the cross member and stuff. And another thing that I'm doing is I'm redoing the front brake lines. Previously, they used to go like down the frame rail and around the frame rail and then up into the line lock. Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a bulkhead fitting in the fender or the fender apron, inner fender. And I'm going to have that bulkhead go directly into the line lock. So one thing I need to do is I'm switching out to banjo bolts for my proportioning valve. But Bayer sends these kits with some brass inserts where your brake lines can mate up to if you're not using banjo bolts. But that banjo or that little fitting or that little adapter was stuck in there. So as you can see, I ended up having to just take like a regular wood screw it into the brass fitting and then work it out. It actually took a lot of effort to get it out. I was quite surprised. But with it out, banjo bolt can go in there. I looked at some of the threads. Some of the threads were a little not perfect, so just clean them up a little bit. And then I'm going to blow out the proportioning valve. Just get some air through there and make sure, when I was screwing in, I'm not leaving any little brass bits. You don't want chunks in your brake line. You just want fluid in your brake line. So now that that's out, I can put that banjo fitting on. Unfortunately, that banjo bolt's a little long and doesn't actually tighten up, of course. But it's good enough to kind of get started on fabbing up a brake line. So that's the old NICOP line. I'm just going to use it for templates and stuff and how to build a lot of the lines. I don't want to, test with my brand new stainless. Stuff's a little bit expensive and hard to work with, so let's just use the NICOP, which is cheap and easy to work with, to get our templates and figuring things out. So just grab a chunk of stainless, just kind of remake my template and my pattern, and we're gonna test making this short little line. So if you've never done this kind of work, doing small, short little anything is almost always harder than longer runs. It's just the way it is. You know, the short little brake line, it's probably 3 to 4 inches, is way more finicky to make than probably the rest of the brake lines on the car together. It took me a ton of figuring out. It took me a ton of bending, just back and forth to the vise, because I can't get my proper bender in there, 100% properly. So I've got to kind of stick around with it, and one of those things where it's like, okay, I got to make it work. So yeah, I'm just letting folks know that, short lines are way harder to make than long lines. You might be thinking, oh, well, it's a shorter distance. Yeah, but you have to be perfect. There is no, well, I can just tweak this a little tiny bit down here and then it makes a big swing at this other end. That's just not what happens, unfortunately. You need to be almost damn near perfect. As I'll show you here, I'm drilling a hole in this inner fender, and I was, I measured on the other side. I was like, okay, I want it about here, so I took some measurements and I'm putting it through the backside, and it's like, it's not perfect, but it's close enough. I'll make it work. And that changes everything again, which is why I haven't done this in, the stainless yet. But yeah, it's just, there's a lot that goes into this, and the smaller fine details and the smaller fine lines are way, way more challenging. So because that banjo bolt isn't right, I decide to work on something else. I got that little line kind of done, but I'm going to jump over. I'm going to put the park brake in. As I said, this video is just a lot of me just jumping around from random to random thing that needs to be done. I've got a list because I'm just fighting the clock. I'm just going. It's like, okay, it's like you know, I don't know, ADHD or whatever, but I'm just like squirrel and go do something else, just while I'm getting things knocked out and done. So I was kind of going, or I was working in the car, and then I had to jump under the car to do stuff. So I was like, you know what, this would be kind of neat to get kind of like a split shot where, you know, you see me both below and above and how I'm just kind of transitioning between. So maybe I'm getting better at this videoing thing and being a little bit smarter. I don't know. I just like this shot because, yeah, I'm, you know, between under the car, above the car, under the car, above the car. Time to reinstall the park brake cables. So I'm going to, again, use all the stock routing and nothing too crazy here. So why am I getting park brakes in? Well, because it is time to get the drive shaft installed. So I'm just cleaning up all the nuts. The 4 nuts are going to have some paint pen on them from when I last torqued them. So get that cleaned off, and then we will get the drive shaft back up in the car and installed. I did the park brake first because I was like, you know what, once I get the drive shaft up, there might not be a ton of space. There was so much space. I could have thrown the drive shaft in and then done the park brake cables after. But that doesn't matter. It's done. It's up. It's good enough. One of my favorite things coming up, crossing things off of the list because I'm getting things done. All right, back to reinstalling brake lines. So while I'm under here, I might as well put the brake line going to the back of the car back in and get that fastened up. So previously I had just drilled up into the floor and then tapped the floor pan itself for the bolts, which is, I mean, it worked, but it's not a great idea because it's just super thin sheet metal. So this time I'm going to drill the holes, and then I'm going to put riv nuts up in there for a permanent mounting solution. Yeah, so I'm just gonna, do that as I go. Get the brake line up to the front as I had it before. So I need to make a new piece that comes from the proportioning valve and goes down and meets the rear, and I need to make that out of stainless. So I'm just going to go ahead, use a little bit of the Nycop just to get me a little template and get that sorted. And get, kind of everything pointed at the right direction at least, and then I can take that template and make it out of stainless. while it's not absolutely perfect, it actually came out pretty darn close. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Got to go underneath to figure out where the bends are going to be so it can come back and mate up with the rear line. So this is a two-piece rear line. I'm okay with it. A little junction ain't going to hurt nothing. One thing I am absolutely going to do is drill a massive hole in the trans mount, and that's because the line itself needs to be closer to the frame. The only hole in the cross member right now is like, I don't know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches off, and I want this tighter to the frame so I don't have to do a bunch of crazy bends in it. And that is a completed rear brake line. Now it is time to jump back onto the front. So I need to make a short little brake line to go from the bulkhead into the line lock, and then I need to make brake lines that go to, well, I already have the driver's side caliper here just coming right off the line lock, but I need to make a line that goes over to the passenger side. So yeah, I'm just kind of making this another small little line just to go into the line lock from the proportioning valve. And then I'm going to make a line going over to the passenger side, and I'm going to make that a two-piece line as well. Everything's so tight in there that doing just a single one-piece line, I mean, I could maybe do it, but I don't have the ability nor the time to really think about it. So I'm just going to make it a two-piece line, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. Those couplers are totally safe. I'm not worried about that. It's not going to leak, so might as well just make it easy on myself. I know this camera angle sucks because the strut's in the way of what I'm actually working on the other side. It's just so hard to get the right angle and a good angle because the camera's going to be over my right shoulder, which is right where I need to be, and then I'm going to block it anyways. So I'm going to try and get you better angles, but I'm sorry. So with that line done, it is now time to start thinking about how I'm going to run to the passenger side, because I want to make this, you know, fairly easily accessible, and so I can pull a K member out if I have to and be able to just easily pull everything out. So yeah, just figuring this out, and then I'm just going to go at it and just kind of, you know, do something I'm not usually good at doing and just do it. Don't think about it, just do it. So right now you can kind of see that the whole front brake line is just a single piece, and that's because as I was building this, yeah, I was able to get it, you know, kind of roughly in place with some of the early bends. So I was like, okay, maybe I can just do this in one piece. But as soon as I put this bend on to go over to the passenger side bracket, that's where everything kind of goes wrong. Even though I'm cutting this down, I'm just not able to get this you know, back on the front end in one piece. So I'm going to end up cutting it kind of in half. I kind of actually cut it in a bad area because it's kind of in a tight area where the steering rack is, but such is life. Live and learn. I'll hopefully know a little bit better for next time, to just be a little bit more mindful where I cut it. So that's a front brake line pretty much done. And we're going to move on to the next thing, which is cleaning some intake hardware. So those are all of the fasteners for my intake. I had them on the car previously, so I'm just going to throw them in this little container I cut open with some acetone and just clean it all off. Make sure I got some decent hardware to start with. And then we're going to clean the intake. So there's still a little bit of gasket and some material left over. So she's going to take a razor blade and just kind of clean this off and make it nice and ready to reinstall. time to get this big old garbage bag off, but what I did there is I just took some air and just kind of blew any loose metal or paint or anything off of the bag and kind of down to the floor, just because, you know, I want that bag to be clean when I pull it off. I don't want any stuff left on it that I might end up dumping into the intake. So yeah, we're gonna get that all gone, and we're gonna start thinking about putting the intake on. It's an exciting time. So I do already have the lifters in the block because, you know, small block Fords, if you don't do that before you put the heads on, you're probably going to have a pretty bad day because you're not going to be able to install them. So I'm just quickly rolling the engine over so that I'm at top dead center, just because having the engine at top dead center when you're putting it in the car is generally a good idea. So now that I'm at top dead center, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start installing the intake. Now, I believe I made a mistake the last time, or when I put the intake on my old engine. I Loctited the studs in. I don't know if I'm actually supposed to Loctite the studs in, so I'm not doing that this time. I don't think I need to, but one thing I will say is I do need to get some longer studs, at least the top portion. A couple of them didn't quite install as I would have liked, but that's okay. The intake is on for now. I can redo that later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Right Stuff sealant on both sides of the intake gasket. So you might be wondering why I'm doing that, and that's an excellent question. I spoke with somebody who has done a lot more of these builds than I already in his life than I will ever do in my life, especially high boost stuff. And he told me, you know, on the high boost stuff, and you know, right now I'm only throwing 10 psi at it. Maybe I'll only get up to 15 or 20. It's probably not really considered high boost. But he says, yeah, I glued the gaskets on both sides, and that means that, you know, you're not gonna create, or you're not gonna have a boost leak from the intake gaskets. So I'm just putting the passenger side on the driver's side so I can, you know, easily hold the gasket and get to the Right Stuff sealer on there, and then I'll just transfer it over to the correct side. Make sure I got enough gasket that I'm confident is going to make a good seal. And then I will put the sealer on both sides. I'm just going to kind of clean things off a little bit. There's a little bit of excess here and there. And then once I do that, I will put sealer on the China walls. So the China walls are the areas at the front and the rear. Technically speaking, there are gaskets you can put there, but I don't think anybody ever does. Everybody just, you know, puts a massive bead of silicone there and away you go. You want to make sure that area is fully sealed because you don't want a you don't want an oil leak. There's gonna be a ton of oil in the valley there, and you don't want that to leak out. And one thing to note, I'm kind of following the block line here, but the intake does not follow that line. So when I go to put the intake on, I actually need to run a second bead. And so I'm making sure I've got a good amount of silicone on here so that it squishes out and we are able to install the intake. So you can see I'm doing this, and then I look at the back and it's like, oh shit, the back has no amount of sealing, so I gotta pull it back off, just kind of throw it, even though there's a ton of silicone everywhere. So I'll just quickly touch up the beads, and then I'll run the bead where it needs to be. So that was kind of frustrating, just not knowing these engines and where the intake goes, but that's all right. And then, you know, the intake gasket was stuck to the intake and it was kind of coming off. So it was a bit of a challenge getting it on, but it is on, and that is the main thing. So with that, I'm just adding a little bit more silicone. I wasn't happy with how it looked, so just add a little bit more, and then we will torque this down. yeah, as I'm, just getting all the nuts on, once I start torquing them down, I actually run into an issue with two of them where the stud's like too far down and it actually stripped the top of the thread on one, so I didn't get it fully torqued down, but it was pretty close. So I ended up having to take the stud back out, recut the threads, and then recut the threads on the nuts. And yeah, so I will have to figure something out for that. I mean, it's just replacing the intake studs with something longer, which not a huge deal or hard to do. I just gotta, take the time and pull one of the studs out and do that. I'll probably do that this winter, maybe. Who knows? I got a list of stuff to do already this winter. Now it's time for something a little bit more exciting. At least more exciting to me. It's time to start getting the rest of the top end together. So I've got 16 push rods. They're all the same length. I think they're 6,750. That rings a nice bell. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run some acetone through the middle of them and then blow them all out. I just want to make sure that all of the push rods the passages are clear. There's nothing in them. And this is just a good way to do it. And then I'm just going to clean the outsides as well. And then we are going to go and start putting these in the engine. So I'm making sure to use assembly lube as I'm putting this in. I want to make sure that the tips of the push rods and everything are all lubricated, so when I am cranking on this, there's some protection there. It's not just metal on metal. And me being me, as I'm putting these in, I'm making sure that all of the writing is all the same direction. Now, the push rod doesn't know what direction the writing is. You guys don't know what direction the writing is. But I know what direction the writing is, and I need to just, for my own, I don't know if it's OCD or what it is, I just need to make sure they're the same. And then I'm sitting there thinking, well, the other side has the writing this way. How am I going to put the writing on this side? Am I going to do it the exact same? Am I going to flip it? So whatever it is I decided on, I made sure it was the same on, all the same on per bank, and then it made sense for me going the other way. That is who I am, and it is what it is. I don't feel bad about it. I'm happy knowing that everything is the same and in order and to the best of my abilities. So with that, the next thing to do is put the rockers on, and these are shaft mount rockers. So I think I already have the actual, what's it called? The CNC mount on the heads. I think I left those on. So this is going to be just, going through each of the rockers, checking them to make sure there's nothing wrong. I did see a video online recently where a brand new set of this exact same Jessel shaft rockers, one of the rockers was actually bad right out of the box. So had that been the case, I would have had a real bad day, because I don't think there's any chance I would have been getting a replacement in time. Fortunately, just going through these with my limited knowledge, everything looked fine, but I do want to just go ahead and clean everything up and make sure everything's ready to go in as best as possible. So now keep in mind when I'm putting this in, I am only torquing the shafts down. I am not torquing the rockers themselves at all. I will adjust the rockers, I think, at a later time. I don't think I do it in this video. So while these shaft rockers are more expensive than your traditional rocker, it wasn't terribly much more. So by the time I looked at the rockers, the studs, a girdle, all of the supporting things, I think these shaft rockers ended up being like $400 more. So I was like, this is a way better setup for what I'm doing. I'm a solid roller. I want to run this thing pretty hard. I need valve control. So I've also already spent stupid amounts of money on this engine and this car, so why cheap out at the last possible second? So for the extra $400, I went with these shaft rockers over your traditional style, just because they are going to be much less prone to moving and bending and flexing and everything else. So just way better valve control. So that's why I went with these. And I didn't find any company other than Jezel that makes shaft rockers for the small block Ford, so it may be out there, but I'm not too sure. Yeah, so we got the passenger side on, so I'm going to go ahead and get the driver's side on. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure why I decided to stop right in the middle of installing the valve train. Actually, it might have been because the engine felt like it was turning over quite weird, and that's because I only have half the valve train installed, so there's a lot of just single forces without the opposing force from the other side. So what happens is, like, what happened was, I do remember this now. So what would happen is, as I was turning the crank, it would like speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. It was very chunky is the best way I can describe it without being harsh corners, you know? Like it was smooth to turn, but it was very blocky or chunky as it did it. So I sent a message over to Dylan Merkel at Merkel Motorsport, because he's done way more than this than I have. So I was just like, okay, I've never done this before. I just want to take a second here, send him a video of what's going on, get confirmation that this seems normal. He's the one that explained to me, like, you're missing half of your valve train, so you don't have the opposing forces. So yeah, it's going to be a little chunky, and once you get the other side done, it should spin just fine. And that was the case. So while that's going on, I'm going to get the timing components installed. When I ordered this timing set, I ordered it for a 3/8 bolt going into the timing cover, but this whole accessory is all 5/16. So I messed that up by ordering 3/8 instead of 5/16. So I do have a ton of long 5/16 bolts, so I'm just going to modify a couple to work. I'm going to use all the same spacers. I'll just use a slightly different washer. But yeah, I did mess that up a little bit. Really, at the end of the day, that little change is not going to affect anything, really. So yeah, we're just getting that modified and getting that installed, and we'll get the... that is the crank trigger holder / timing pointer. I knew it was the crank. Well, like I knew it was the crank trigger holder, or crank sensor holder, but I didn't realize it was also a timing pointer until I got it here. And then I was like, oh, I'm so lucky that that is both. So what I ended up doing is, that's another reason why I was rotating the engine, is I set it to 0 top dead center with the old timing pointer, which I had verified was top dead center with the bridge a long time ago. So I knew where top dead center was. And then what I'm able to do is just adjust the timing pointer so it's marking top dead center, and then set up the crank sensor brackets. A little bit of blue Loctite on the crank sensor bracket. I don't know if I go back and put blue Loctite on the timing pointer bolts, but I should. Looks like I am. Good. Smart man. Because I definitely don't want that moving. Because if that moves and I'm checking timing and it's off by a few degrees, that's a really bad thing to happen. So, that's now installed. Looks good. I really love that Innovators West balancer and the whole timing set. The crank trigger. The whole thing is just... It just looks so good. Wasn't cheap. But goddamn, it looks good. Alright, now that I have confirmation that what I was seeing is normal, we can get back to installing all of the valve train or the top end on the driver's side. So let's go. Same thing I've already done. I also start by backing the adjusters, the lash adjustment, all the way off before I put any of the rockers on. What I'm going to do right now quickly is I'm going to just put a little eye on all of the intake valves. The reason why I'm doing that is on the passenger side, the intake valve starts at the very front, and then it's every 2 rockers, whereas on the driver's side, as you can see, it's every 2 rockers, and the back one's an intake, and that's because it's this exact same head left to right, so you can just flip that head from one side to the other, and then if you can kind of envision this, if you were to take that, flip that head 180, the intake would be at the front. So the reason why I'm marking these is because I'm using the EOIC method. So when the exhaust is opening, I am setting the intake lash. When the intake is just starting to close, I set the exhaust lash. And I'm just doing an initial setting of, I want to say I set it to 5 thousandths, because I didn't want the lash to be too tight. So the thing is, with an iron block and aluminum heads, your lash is going to grow approximately 6 thousandths when everything is all hot and up to temperature. So by me setting it initially at 5 thousandths, when everything grows and is up to temperature, lash should be about 11 thousandths. Now, in this case, it is better to have slightly bigger lash. It will be noisier than tighter lash. So that's why I'm erring on the side of caution right now. At the end of the day, I want approximately 10,000 hot lash. Well, not approximately, I want 10,000 hot lash. But the way to do that is you get the engine up to temperature, you set lash with it up to temperature. Now, the problem with that is if I get this thing up to temperature by running it and I pull it into the shop, I need to take a valve cover off. So the engine's already started to cool down a little bit. Not a lot, but enough. I get the first valve lashed. Now the engine's starting to cool a bit more. And then I do the second lash. Well, the engine has been cooling, not a whole ton, mind you, but enough that it could potentially change the values of each of these. So I'm setting it cold at 5. I should have a target of about 11,000 at this point in time. What I'm going to end up doing eventually when the car is back together and running, I'll run it, I'll get it up to temperature, I'll quickly pull one of the valve covers off. I will set one valve set at 10 thou when it's hot. I will let the engine completely cool overnight. In the morning, I will check the cold value to find out what it is. So anyways, right now I'm just setting all the valves at 5 thou. So I roll the engine over, and then as you'll see, just as the intake starts to, or the exhaust starts to open, I am setting the intake. And then you'll see I'll rotate it more, and then when the intake is starting to close, I do the exhaust. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now that everything's all lashed, valve covers kind of sit in place, I rotated it, made sure nothing was hitting. It is time to start putting the coils on the car. So I already have the coil rack for the driver's side done, so I'm just, throwing it on. And then I've got to do the same thing that I did for the driver's side coil rack, which is take the old passenger side one apart and put it on the rack, and then we'll get it on the valve cover. Yeah, I mean, having these coils on top of the valve cover, it does make the entire engine bay and engine look a little bit more busy. The coils are going to get hotter sitting on top of the valve covers and in the engine bay for sure. But it's going to make my plug wire smaller. And, you know, with these FFP custom brackets, everything's kind of spaced out evenly. And honestly, I really like the way it looks. Once I finally get the shorter plug wires, it's going to look even nicer. But I'm really not sad or unhappy about this at all. I think it's a great look. It makes the wiring a lot more simple for the engine. I don't have to split like the coil triggers off to the outside through panels. It just all comes through the middle connector, and it's just all going to work in the end. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this is turning out so far. So the last thing that I'm going to do here real quick is I am going to install the thermostat. And with that, that is all the time that we have for this week. So as always, if you have stuck around this long, I would like to thank you for viewing, and we'll see you in the next one.